And now, the host of Quirks of Israel, Reverend Peter Faust.
Hey everyone, good to see you. You weren't expecting that. Hey everyone. Oh, you're looking really good today. Hey. Oh, like your makeup there, Sally. Good to see you all. Thank you for coming today. Oh, so nice. We got a wonderful show. Wonderful show. Welcome. Okay, so welcome to episode 5 of the Quirks of Israel. I think that deserves an applause. We've actually survived 5 episodes. Okay, there we go. Today's episode is called How to Float in the Dead Sea. When anyone visits Israel, they always end up at the Dead Sea. And for good reason. The Dead Sea is a wonder of the world. There's none like it. The amount of minerals and healing properties in the salty waters are incredible. First off, regular ocean water is something like 3 to 5% salt, whereas the Dead Sea is around 30%. So literally, nothing can survive in the salty waters of the Dead Sea. Due to the salt content and other minerals, the Dead Sea hosts an endless sight of beautiful geological formations, crystallized salt pillars, and frosting upon stones that look like cakes, incredible looking strata layers where the Dead Sea water level has been reduced, and amazing multicolored sand and mud. The Dead Sea is most famous for floating and covering oneself in mud, so you look like some coal miner who's been trapped underground for weeks. But with a quick shower and scrub, your skin will be radiant, totally exfoliated from the mud and water. Now at the Dead Sea, there is a proper way to enter. You don't dive headfirst or cannonball or do a backflip or whatever, because the high salt content is so high and intense. That stuff gets into your eyes, it will feel like hydrochloric acid being dripped on you. Painful. Oof. Also, I recommend to not shave hours before, or just be aware that any open cuts will be cauterized with quite a bit of stinging, but fear not, the burning sensation will eventually cease. So as long as you don't cannonball, shave, enter the water with a flesh wound, or eat anything gassy beforehand, you will be okay. Maybe some discomfort, you'll live, and have a 98% chance you'll enjoy yourself and fill the air with your laughter instead of painful grunts or screams. Okay, but you may say, well, Peter, how do I enter the water? I'll tell you, through a dramatic recreation with my fingers. So, you walk to the edge of the water. Now, bearing in mind that the rocks will be slippery and that any number of mud sinkholes lurking beneath the surface to suck you down sideways or cause you to feel unstable. That is why one takes their time. Most people start to laugh at the strange coolness of the water, which has an oily film to it, so as well as the ridiculous realization that you look like a giant infant trying to enter into a bath for the first time. Hey, I think so. Okay, so where was I? Then once you are deep enough in the water, above your knees, or around the waist level is best, then you simply turn around and gently lower yourself back, okay? And just sit back. It's that easy. This is the safest, best prescribed way on entering the water, okay? Then you just let the soothing arms of the Dead Sea do the trick. You will naturally float and bob around. Once floating, no need to kick or thrash around like an idiot. You simply paddle with your hands and ignore the urge to scratch and itch on your face or rub your eyes because, remember, your hands are also in the water. All right. Now, the Dead Sea and its salt content will eventually dehydrate you, so I advise you to bring a bottle of fresh water to drink and pour over your eyes if, heaven forbid, some idiot next to you splashes or you accidentally get a drop of water in your eye and you feel like you're melting in agony. Follow my simple advice and you'll have a grand time. Bob around with a smile on your face, read a newspaper, cover your body in mud, and enjoy yourself. After about 30 minutes, you'll probably want to paddle into shore and go for a shower. Hey, that's nice, hey? Now, the Dead Sea is amazing. I mean, get this. Over 2,000 years ago, the Empress Cleopatra from Egypt banned anyone but her from using the Dead Sea. And she treated this enormous body of salt water as her own personal spa. A little bit vain, okay, but you get the point. You also have the world-famous Ahava factory and others that sell Dead Sea products all over the world, from lip balm, hand soap, shampoo, foot cream, hand cream, exfoliation, mud, deodorant, and more. If you've ever been to any medium-sized or large mall in North America, you will often run into the Israeli squad running the Dead Sea products kiosk. My friend, do you want your hands to feel like velvet? Soft like the fur of a kitten? Now, they'll encourage you to buy their products, and you know what? You should. Why? Because it's great products and you're supporting Israel. Now, here's a story of what not to do, okay? Years ago, I was leading a tour and we were going to Kalia Beach on the Dead Sea. Our tour guide had just finished explaining all the do's and don'ts of how to enter the water and spend your time floating. When the coach parked and stopped, I was tapped on the shoulder by one of the participants, who will remain nameless. This young man was an eager and excited individual, but who hadn't been sleeping well and tended to drift off in a deep slumber whenever he sat on the coach or whenever a speaker on our tour gave a presentation. He said to me, "Peter, can you get the driver to open the undercarriage?" I shrugged and replied, "Why?" His response, "I need to get my snorkel and goggles." I stared at him for a half second and then shook my head. "Didn't you hear anything the guide said?" He shook his head, and in an exasperated tone, I went through everything, every detail. I said, "You only need your swimming trunks, towel, and water shoes." I thought I had saved this poor man from the largest acid bath of his life. So I prepared myself, went down to the coast with a bunch of the participants, and like experts, we entered the water carefully. Remember the finger demonstration? We entered the water carefully, each one wading up to their waist and then gently sitting back. We floated together like a mighty fleet of warships, people laughing, chatting, enjoying the sun, and always hydrating with the water from their water bottles. It was at that time I heard someone gasp and proclaim, "Oh no, here comes," okay, nameless. A few gave out pathetic shouts of protest against the impending doom we witnessed as the young tour participant, whom I had traded words with on the couch, came bounding down the beach like an excited toddler about to build a sandcastle and jumped into the water. His first plunge into the Dead Sea was impressive, and his brain hadn't calculated the danger he was in, nor had the acid begun to penetrate his eyes. Like an experienced Olympian, he stretched out his muscular form and hurled himself up in the air with precision for the perfect dive. Body like a plank, arms forward and hands like the tip of a spear, head in place and chest tight to receive the impact of the water like a bullet, to penetrate the murky depths and rise professionally from the surface to the ovation of his friends. It did not pan out as such. He exploded from the surface, yes, but with horrid shrieks and flailing that scattered all the swimmers nearby in terror. Leaping up and down in the water did he scream to the heavens, and the image of the T-1000 melting in the molten steel from Terminator 2 flashed in my mind as people laughed and others pleaded in mercy for someone to help the poor, deranged soul. He was lost in his pain, completely disoriented, as two of our group members paddled frantically to his rescue with a bottle of water. Eventually, the maimed, wounded beast was tamed as over a liter of cold water was poured over his face. Once his screams had ceased and only a whimper could be heard, the two saints that had saved his life from the acid drip towed him to shore by a limp, wrinkled foot, breaking the surface of the Dead Sea, who had claimed another reckless victim. I remember seeing the young man who had not heeded my warnings stare back at the water before him, worn out and in agony. He seemed to carry the weight of the world upon his shoulders, as almost with a longing of despair he watched the lot of us floating before him. In that moment he looked like Homer's noble Odysseus, victor over the Trojans of Troy, but sensing his impending doom, and that Poseidon, that rascally god of the sea, wouldn't just let him sail home to Ithaca, pretty much taunting him with, just try to get across the water safely. Anyway, the young man stalked back up the beach and sat down upon a chair in a heap of misery, but having gained an ounce of wisdom in how to properly enter the Dead Sea. I think that deserves an applause. He learned something, right? Israel is quirky. Join me on episode 6 of the Quirks of Israel as we talk about the food of Israel. Oh, and coffee and tea. Happy Hanukkah, cheers, and shalom.